Estefanía Bonome was born in April 2009 in Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina. She was the oldest of 3 daughters born to Pablo Bonome and Fiamma Jessica Jardina. Estefania's mother was part of a gypsy community settled in the town of Jose Marmol, located south of Buenos Aires. Her parents met when they were teenagers, and although Pablo wasn't part of the gypsy community, they fell in love and began dating. It is reported that at the beginning of their relationship, Pablo and Fiamma had some issues with Fiamma's family because Pablo was not gypsy. However, over time, Pablo was accepted, and everything seemed to settle. A while later, Fiamma became pregnant, and as a result, Pablo moved in with her family. Their daughter was born a few months later, and they named her Samira. According to sources, the girl was raised with a lot of love and was very close to her grandmother, Maria, Isabel Fiamma's mother. After the birth of their daughter, Pablo knew that he now had more responsibilities and would have to work hard to provide some comfort for his family. Because of this, Pablo started working a lot during the weekday. He worked as a construction worker in various buildings around Buenos Aires and nearby cities, and on weekends, he worked as a vendor at a local market in the city. The family faced challenges, and despite leading a simple life, they remained very optimistic, as Estefanía was described as a cheerful, affectionate, and very studious girl. She was so dedicated that even when it rained, she would ask to be allowed to go to school. Initially, she dreamed of becoming a nurse, but later said she wanted to become a police officer, like her paternal grandfather at the age of 9. In addition to being a good student, Estefanía helped with household chores. In her spare time on weekends, she would accompany her father to the local market to help him with sales and an interview. Fiamma, the girl's mother, said that when her daughter came home from school, she would go straight to do her homework, then prepare a snack for her grandfather, and after finishing, she would play with her sisters and other neighborhood kids. Many of these neighborhood children were relatives of the girl's mother, mostly cousins. Among these cousins was Patricia, the granddaughter of an uncle on Estefanía's mother's side. Unlike the other members of Fiamma's family, this uncle had an excellent financial situation. He owned several companies, including a logistics business with refrigerated trucks. At first, their relationship between the families was very good, but in recent times there have been reports that this relationship started to become complicated. According to some people close to the family, disagreements between Fiamma's uncle and her parents began to occur frequently. The reasons for these disagreements are unknown, but what is known is that the children from both families were very close and unaware of the tension. With all this context, we arrive at October 25th, 2018, a Thursday, an important day for Fi's family, especially for her as she was celebrating her 25th birthday. Despite financial difficulties and other problems, the family decided to gather for a celebration. While the adults celebrated inside the house, as Estefanía, who was 9 at the time, Patricia, 11, and other cousins went outside to play hide-and-seek on the sidewalk. According to surveillance footage from neighboring houses, it was just after 8:30 p.m. when Patricia's older brother arrived at the location to look for her. His name was Christian Alejandro Jovanovic, 15 years old, known to everyone as Mihail. A cousin of Fiamma and her daughters, Christian was born on August 13th, 2003 in the Argentine. It is known that after his parents' separation, he began to behave more rebelliously. Some residents reported that he dropped out of school and would often walk around the neighborhood, bothering younger children. He also consumed various illegal substances and had been involved in several offenses. He didn't need money, as he was the son of Fiamma's uncle, who owned several businesses in Buenos Aires, but he engaged in thefts for pleasure. His behavior reached a point where his mother couldn't handle the situation, as she was violent with her. It was then that his grandparents intervened and took over his upbringing to try to set him on the right path. But apparently, nothing they did worked, as the boy continued to get into trouble. According to testimonies from some acquaintances, Christian was reported for an alleged sexual assault. He was also accused of beating a girl until she lost consciousness and of attacking another when trying to steal a neighbor's television. Most people agree that Christian's mother and grandparents treated his offenses as jokes, which is why he continued to escalate his behavior. He would intimidate and assault neighborhood children, steal, and according to reports, use knives to threaten others. Even though there were police records of his violent actions, the teenager was never arrested, but was admitted multiple times to different rehabilitation centers to address his addictions and bad behavior. The last time he was admitted was a few months before Fama's birthday, but he managed to escape and return to his old habits. Now that we know a bit about Christian, let's go back to the evening of October 25th, 2018. On that occasion, he went to the Bonome family's house to look for his sister. At that moment, he encountered a group of children playing in the street, and he started telling each one where they should hide, asking Estefanía to accompany him as he wanted to deliver a gift to her mother, excited about the idea of giving her mother a present on her birthday and trusting her cousin. The girl entered the vehicle driven by Christian, a refrigerated truck owned by one of his father's companies. That was the last time Estefanía was seen. What should have been a day of celebration and joy turned into a desperate search for the girl. Some versions given by Estefanía's family indicate that less than half an hour later, Patricia entered the house to ask about her cousin. Surprised, Fiamma said her daughter was playing with other children on the street, to which Patricia replied that Estefanía had left with Christian and that he hadn't brought her back quickly. Everyone started searching for Estefanía, but she was nowhere to be found. According to the same version, Chris returned to the Bonome family's house, claiming that he wasn't with Estefanía and had left her on the semesterit where the children were playing. Christian even joined in the search for the girl. He also tried to calm Fiamma, placing his arm around her shoulders while saying that the girl was surely hiding and they would find her soon. However, as the minutes passed, the desperation grew, and Fiamma decided to go to the police station to report her daughter's disappearance. Her husband, Pablo, stayed with a group of family members, friends, and neighbors who were searching the neighborhood for Estefanía, while the mother was at the police station. A terrible discovery was made. It was almost 1 p.m. when some young people riding bicycles noticed something on the sidewalk that caught their attention. As they got closer, they were horrified to realize it was a half-naked girl covered with a sheet with a nylon bag over her head. Due to the state of the body, it was clear she was lifeless, and these young people immediately called the author. Authorities. Fiamma was still at the police station hoping to find her daughter. If what many already suspected turned out to be true, had been found, she unfortunately, when Pablo arrived at the scene, it couldn't be her daughter. He recognized the body. The woman asked her husband to go to the location. Devastating news quickly spread among the neighbors, who the identity of the girl in large numbers. Feared her heart at the location. It didn't take long for everyone to start pointing to Christiana as the main suspect in the crime. Their residents were outraged and demanded justice from the authorities. Amidst the crying, Fiamma called for severe punishment for the responsible party and fainted in front of the cameras of the journalist covering the news. While Estefanía's body was being transferred to the morgue for the necessary exams, the community gathered for a vigil, lighting candles and praying for the girl in theme and time. The police interviewed the girl's family members, several witnesses, and began collecting surveillance footage from the area in an attempt to uncover Estefanía's last movements. Thanks to these videos, the authorities were able to reconstruct the events chronologically, from the moment the girl was playing on the street to the discovery of her body, and what they discovered left them stunned. At 8:37 p.m., a neighbor's camp camera captured Estefanía playing with the other children. A few minutes later, Christian's arrival was recorded, and at 8:45 p.m., the footage shows him leaving the area, followed by the girl. According to the investigation, he took Estefanía to a family warehouse, which was about 24 meters away. It is presumed that he forced her to climb to the second floor of the structure, where he tried to assault her. Not expecting the girl to defend herself until the very end, faced with Estefanía's resistance, Christian struck her hard in the face and then repeatedly attacked her with a knife. Around 8:55 p.m., he dragged her to the warehouse parking lot and placed her in a refrigerated truck from his family's business. Then at 9:03 p.m., a camera captured him throwing Estefania's body from the vehicle. This action, besides being captured by the camera, was also witnessed by a bystander. Later, another surveillance camera recorded Christian returning from the warehouse around 9:16 p.m. So at that time, it's believed that he washed and cleaned the truck. 7 minutes later, he was filmed returning to the spot where he had taken Estefania as Wekno. At that moment, he approached his cousin Fiamma to console her, pretending not to know where Estefania was. He then left alone for the house he shared with his grandparents, mother, and uncles. Through this and other evidence, the police obtained a court order to search the house Christian lived in, the warehouse where he had entered with Estefania, and the refrigerated truck. It was then, in the early hours of Friday, October 26th, that the police finally arrested him in the property. Police seized blue pants, a jacket, and some underwear with traces of blood while at the warehouse. In the back of the truck, forensic experts found blood samples additionally in a building next to the warehouse. They found more blood-stained clothing and a knife. The same knife Christian used to take Estefania's life during the interrogation. What truly shocked the investigators was the extreme coldness with which the 15-year-old teenager admitted to being responsible for the crime. In fact, he told the police that on that day he had a strong urge to do something bad and felt the need to end someone's life. It wasn't entirely clear whether he went to his cousin's house with the intention of committing the crime, or if he simply found the girl there defenseless in the street and saw the opportunity to attack her. Christian took advantage of the trust Estefania had in him because of their family bond. Initially, both the Argentine press and social media attributed the crime to a vendetta due to the minor friction between the two families, or a settling of accounts involving their illegal activities. However, none of this was confirmed by authorities. Family members and neighbors denied such versions, suggesting that Christian had mental health issues and used narcotics that affected his behavior. They also recalled that, although he had never been arrested, he was involved in several offenses. Although the autopsy report was not initially released, some information leaked to the press, and others were shared by the family. The victim suffered multiple stabbings with a sharp object, with the most affected areas being the face, head, arms, and hands, revealing that she defended herself. Until the last minute, initially no evidence was found that Christian had sexually assaulted the girl. However, later on, after an analysis, it was determined that the underwear seized from Christian's house contained traces of biological fluids mixed with Estefania's blood. When this news broke, local residents became furious and tried to set fire to Christian's family home, seeking to take justice into their own hands. However, Estefania's family intervened to calm the situation. Following this incident, Christian's family left the area as the investigation continued to clarify all the details of the case. Estefania's loved ones faced their mourning. On Saturday, October 27th, the wake was held at the girl's house where she grew up, surrounded by her family's love. The atmosphere was filled with sadness, distress, and outrage. Neighbors, classmates, friends, and of course family members were present to pay their respects and demand justice. None of Christian's relatives attended the wake or the local cemetery where the burial took place. From that moment on, Estefania's parents began a fight to ensure Christian was judged and convicted. However, it wasn't an easy task, as under Argentine law, no one under the age of can be tried or imprisoned for a crime, no matter how serious it may be. Estefania's family pointed to relatives of Christian as accomplice, claiming it would have been nearly impossible for him to have taken the girl, committed the crime, hidden the evidence, and disposed of the body in under 30 minutes without someone else's help. They specifically pointed to the boy's mother, known in the community as La Pawaka, and an uncle named Osita, but apparently neither of them was investigated, despite Christian admitting to committing the crime in the presence of recordings and evidence collected. From various points, there was nothing Estefania's loved ones could do to change what already seemed inevitable. In November 2018, a court ruling declared Christian Alejandro Jovanovic to criminally insane. He was sent to a psychiatric facility for minors where he would serve time for the crime of aggravated homicide with gender violence, remaining there until he reached adulthood at the facility. Christian was isolated from the other inmates to prevent confrontations. However, rumors spread that he had been assaulted on more than one occasion. This information was not confirmed by the prison authorities in an attempt to avoid responsibility and to prevent being targeted by other inmates. At an unspecified date in 2019, Christian contacted Fiamma Estefania's mother. In the call, he denied killing Estefania and tried to blame an uncle in statements to the local press. Stefania's grandmother commented that Christian told Fiamma that one of his uncles had asked him to take the girl to the shed and wait for him outside. However, according to the girl's grandmother, she had recordings from the neighbor's security cameras which showed that this uncle had never left his house during the course of the events. Thus, the months passed, and in October 2019, on the first anniversary of Estefania's death, her loved ones held a March 1st. The family went to the warehouse where Christian had taken Estefania, and then to the place where the girl's body had been abandoned. The family expressed that Christian's mother and grandparents did nothing to stop him. They recalled the numerous psychological and psychiatric evaluations, which determined that he was cruel, cold, and calculating. They said he had no empathy for anyone and treated people as objects. According to them, Christian had been labeled as a psychopath and would likely commit more crimes. They stated that he was a danger to society and therefore asked the authorities to keep him in mental health institution forever. However, despite protests from the family and various organizations, the court decided to release him on August 13, 2021. As soon as he turned 18, the decision included an order prohibiting him from getting near Estefania's family. After being released from prison, Christian moved with his mother to a neighborhood in the city of Posadas near the Argentina-Paraguay border on October 25, 2021. While the victim's family still hoped Christian would be arrested again, the neighbors supported their fight with an artistic tribute to Estefania. The drawing shows the girl dressed as a gypsy dancing flamenco. Her favorite dance, Pablo, as Estefania's father, attended the mural's unveiling and gave an interview saying he hoped the decision to release Christian would be reconsidered and insisted that although he could not be judged, he hoped Christian would be permanently institutionalized where he could no longer hurt anyone, despite the outcome not being as expected. Since their appeals were ignored, Estefania's parents felt at least some relief knowing that the aggressor could not approach them. However, the peace didn't last long, as after a year of being free, Christian began making disturbing posts on social media, where he created several profiles. He shared unsettling images of himself in videos handling knives and performing various dances. The reaction from Estefania's family was immediate, and they publicly expressed their disgust at these images, which they saw as mocking their pain. In interviews with various local media outlets, they said that after discovering Christian's videos, Fiamma wrote to him to complain and demand that he remove them. But his response was just mockery with some emojis. In one of these videos, a middle-aged woman appears in the background sitting at a table and seemingly eating something while watching the young man's movements. Apparently, this woman was his mother, who made evasive gestures when she felt he was getting too close to her. Overall, she seemed unfazed by her son's dancing. After the existence of these posts was revealed, the media echoed the family's complaints. However, as they later commented, the authorities did nothing, and Christian's name made headlines again in December 2022, 4 years after the crime, when he became involved in a very confusing incident for which he was arrested. Apparently, Christian, at 19 years old at the time, tried to assault a girl, and during the struggle, someone got injured. He was released 24 hours after his arrest and was ordered to stay at home under police custody. By this point, the neighbors had already reported him, saying that he would go out into the street with knives and constantly threaten them. He was also accused of mistreating his own mother during an interview. Christian broke his silence, not only denying the accusations from the residents, but also making some statements about what happened 4 years earlier. He claimed that he never went out with sharp objects, threatening the residents. He said these accusations stemmed from people discovering his past and getting swayed by what was published on social media. As for the case involving his cousin, has stated that when the events took place, he wasn't in his right mind because he accused of mistreating his own mother during an interview. Christian broke his silence, not only denying the accusations from the residents, but also making some statements about what happened 4 years earlier. He claimed that he never went out with sharp objects, threatening the residents. He said these accusations stemmed from people discovering his past and getting swayed by what was published on social media. As for the case involving his cousin, he stated that when the events took place, he wasn't in his right mind because he'd been using drugs. He mentioned that he was sorry, apologized to the family, and said he wanted to make peace with God. However, the fears of Estefanía family grew stronger when in mid-July 2024 they learned that after living 3 years in the city of Patas, Christian returned to Buenos Aires EST. Estefanía's grandmother found out about this through post Christian made on his own social media. She said that she even found out that Christian had apparently married a young woman from the gypsy community and was living with her without any restrictions. The woman added that all of Estefanía's family was very concerned about Christian's presence in the area, and their big fear was that he would attack other relatives. She concluded by saying that Christian was a ticking time bomb and warned that it wouldn't be long before he attacked someone else. However, Christian's return to the gypsy community was not officially confirmed. Estefanía's family made new requests to the authorities to assess the possibility of permanently institutionalizing Christian in a psychiatric facility. They remain hopeful that the authorities will take into account the confession he made at the time as well as the results of his psychological evaluation. They said they will not give up and hope that one day they will be able to make him pay for